It's Wednesdays with Keegan and Keegs. Don't look down, but the Toronto Blue Jays have themselves a winning streak.
Big time. Three. I mean, they could call two a streak at this point, but three, look out, man. This is what they're supposed to be doing to the Angels, right? I know the Angels have had a better start to the year, but the Blue Jays are a better team on paper. They haven't done that on grass and turf enough lately. But three in a row, man. And then once you start creeping back closer to 500, and once you start looking around the league at other teams, like the Mets and everyone else, you start to realize it's not too bad. So I think briefly everyone has exhaled just a bit. They have looked more like Blue Jays baseball, which is important as well. They're not just getting lucky here, and it feels like the shrieking has quieted, other than for Jeff Hoffman, but for
Yeah.
the team as a whole, it seems a little calmer right now.
I'm glad you brought up the Jeff Hoffman experience because it almost happened again on Tuesday night. He comes in a save situation, and it was a unmitigated disaster. Louis Varland comes in to mop it up, throws one pitch, double play, it's done. You look at Varland's stats this year, unhittable.
Yeah.
You look at Jeff Hoffman's stats, the complete opposite. If Jeff Hoffman still has the closer's role, then at this point, John Schneider is just gaslighting Jays fans.
Yeah, this is the point now where I think that's got to be a real discussion. And when I look at the Jeff Hoffman appearance from last night, when I watch it back, frankly, Dan, because this was, there's not many games I'm not at. So I passed out, I think, in the eighth inning. Foolish of me on the couch. And I woke up at 4 or 5 in the morning and I saw, oh, they won 4-2. This must have gone okay. Woke up again a few hours later for the real part of my day. And I had some texts about Jeff Hoffman. I thought, how the hell did this happen again? But watching it back, it's the control issues, Dan. Like last year, it was much different. The way that Jeff Hoffman struggled last year was different than this because he was in the zone more, but the home runs were getting him. And it's a little easier if you really stretch and are a bit of an apologist, frankly, to say, "Oh, these home runs are just bad luck. They'll balance out." Blah blah blah. I never liked that. I thought that was lazy. I thought there was a lot of ass kissing going on with that, anyways. But this year, I think the control issues are more blatant and a little harder to talk yourself
He
into.
hit two batters.
Yeah, you can't do that. Hitting batters and walking batters as a closer. I know that as a closer, you're probably throwing 99, which means you're going to have control. But I need the closer to not be giving up freebies like that. Now, the question becomes, Dan, is what do you do? Like, what's the answer now? And if Hoffman is not that answer, I still don't love the idea of marrying Louis Varland 100% to the closer's role. I like the idea of moving him around a bit. I'm kind of intrigued as a sneaky candidate with Braden Fisher in the closer's role. I think he's really good, and I think that he has the personality for it. But you could also go closer by committee, and I don't know if that's the best idea in the world right now. But right now, I don't think it's Jeff Hoffman, and it could be a month from now. It could be in October. This is not the nail in the coffin of Jeff Hoffman as a closer, and I think that's what's kind of getting lost here. They're not going to cut the guy. Okay, he's really good. And just like Brendan Little, Jeff Hoffman has every opportunity in the world to determine how this ends, even if that means a little detour from the closer's role right now.
Uh, so you don't want Varland to take over the closer role because that limits him to that spot. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I just love the role he's in right now. They call it the fireman role, or we talked earlier in the week about how if you have a clean inning, you throw in Tyler Rogers. If it gets messy, like it just did, you throw in Varland, and he's really damn good at that. So even if Varland is the primary closer, I think that you need to have some flexibility to find spots. Maybe it's the eighth inning. There are two runners on, and their number two hitter is coming up to the plate. You're only up by a run. You need your best reliever, and that's going to be Louis Varland. I think it's very clear that it's Louis Varland right now. But then where are you finding spots for Jeff Hoffman? And how does that mesh with him mentally and physically? Because he is used to the adrenaline, he is used to the light show and everything that comes with being the closer. So Some guys need that. Some guys shrink under it, which is why closer by committee is rarely a good idea. It's the NFL thing. If you have two quarterbacks, you have none. Like, I kind of think that way about closers in the big leagues because when you have a set closer, everything else is so much easier. Then Louis Varland knows where he's going to pitch. Tyler Rogers knows his spot. Braden Fisher is, I mean, such an underrated part of this bullpen. Like, I can't talk enough about Braden Fisher. He knows where he'll be. Mason Fluharty knows where he'll be. But if you put Varland in the ninth, I know, guys, it sounds like me saying, like, oh, no, I don't want the Lamborghini, please, but it does limit where you can use him a bit. So I guess what I'm saying is if you're going to have Louis Varland close games, don't make it rigid. Don't make him only the closer. I think there needs to be some flexibility there.
We're going to focus a lot on pitchers because they were the main storyline in
Yeah.
Tuesday night's game. Because Patrick Corbin, this is again a guy who just joined the team a couple weeks ago. They get him for $1 million, and he had a no hitter going into the fifth. And it's one of those late games where you're like, I know not a lot of people are watching, and I love being a part of a moment that not a lot of people are watching, and we can have witnessed a Patrick Corbin no hit. Didn't get it, but still a fantastic performance.
It scared me for a minute, Dan, because I don't take many games off. Maybe the odd series on the West Coast. So as he was starting, inning four, inning five, I get nervous about a no hitter, and I'm on the couch just exhausted, and I'm trying to keep one eye open, like I can't I can't miss a no hitter, right? But he has been spectacular. He has already, even if he disappears tomorrow, never to be heard from again, has been worth his contract and has been an extremely valuable member of this team. Like, full credit to Patrick Corbin because when he came back, he had one ramp up start in single A. He'd built himself up before that, but professionally, he went to single A for one outing, came up to the big leagues. His first one wasn't great, but then he had a couple of good ones recently. That is already worth $1 million. Okay. Corbin helping them win just yesterday's game. That's $1 million in Major League Baseball. Look at where the Blue Jays payroll is and look at what they are essentially paying per win. That is what the Blue Jays need right now. They need stability. They need more options like Patrick Corbin coming in and just doing their job. Nothing complicated, nothing tricky about it. They need Eric Lauer to do what Patrick Corbin is doing, which, like, if you told me in March, Dan, that I'd be saying that sentence, I'm like, what happened this year? We were talking for all of February and March about too many starting pitchers, 7, maybe 8 major league starters. And now we're talking about the profound importance of Patrick Corbin, who was signed off the street for $1 million early in the season. And he's doing this. Like, full credit to the guy, man. I can't say enough about it. And when Trey Savage gets back, which we'll see if that's next week or another, this whole messy situation, I'm not sure it's Patrick Corbin giving up his rotation spot at this point. I think it would be pretty clearly Eric Lauer, number one in line.
Tell me if Patrick Corbin has the same effect on you because you're around the team. But if the police put a police lineup in front of me to identify Patrick Corbin and they put one person in front of me and it was Patrick Corbin, I still wouldn't be able to identify him. For some reason, I have facial amnesia. I could not picture the man in my head what he looks like. Am I going crazy?
Oh no, that's it. That is most of my job in spring training, and this year it carries over into the season a bit. You're seeing guys. Normally that happens in July. Who's this guy? But Patrick Corbin, Joe Mantiply walking through the clubhouse, and going into the season, I mean, the rest of the Blue Jays starters too. Kevin Gausman, Dylan Cease. You could pick those guys out of a
Yes.
lineup. Max Scherzer, his eyes are different colors.
Hmm.
You can pick him out of a lineup. But no, Patrick Corbin is not the pitcher I expected to be covering this year. He's just not. And even Dan, if you had told me in March in spring training when they looked healthier, like, go down the list, tell us 10, 15 starters, I would have gone internal. There would have been other options, trade options. Never thought it would be Corbin. And frankly, when the Blue Jays signed him, I didn't think it would go that well. I thought his best was clearly behind him. But that's the beauty of this. They don't need him to be great for 30 starts. They just need a couple more.
Hmm.
And then they'll go from there. Is he with the team all year? I don't know about that. But he has already completely fulfilled his duty to the Toronto Blue Jays, and he's done what not enough people have done, which is just do his job. Done exactly what's expected of him.
You know who else is doing that? Tyler Rogers. I told you it would be a
Yeah.
pitcher focused on this episode. Rogers is doing exactly what he was billed as, and that is boring ground balls, no damage.
Rarely ever giving us a reason to talk about him. You
Mhm.
know, there will be the odd one like in Milwaukee, and this is just a bug of being his type of great pitcher. You'll get the odd game where you get some choppers and dribblers that go through the infield, whatever. That'll happen. I don't care much about them. Rogers is one of the like sturdiest, safest, best signings this front office has made in a long time. Because when you're going out onto the open market to sign a reliever, I mean, unless you are getting the top end guys, it's still so risky. Even when you're signing a big top end closer, you're one pitch away from losing them for a year and a half. But Tyler Rogers is about as safe as it gets on the relief market. And that's why you give a guy at his age the years and money that they did. But he is a dream for John Schneider. He keeps this bullpen so safe and steady with what he's able to do. And that allows you to move Louis Varland around. It allows you to have Braden Fisher, who could pitch the eighth inning on a lot of teams, in the sixth and seventh inning. It's just incredibly valuable. It gives you a different look. And I can't imagine, Dan, facing Dylan Cease, my first time and my second time up to the plate, throwing 99 with one of the best sliders in Major League Baseball. And then the next time you come up, they've got this gangly guy throwing from the ground on the mound. Like, that's got to suck
Yeah.
as a hitter. It's got to be horrible.
One more pitcher to focus on. Treyu Savage made another minor
Yep.
league start. And on the broadcast, Joe Siddle said because of what happened in that start, they figure he's going to get one more start in the minors before getting called back up.
Might have to. Yeah. This was the second in a row, Dan, where I thought surely this is the last rehab start that he's going to need. But you need it to look decent. You need it to look like the real Treya Savage first. And let's compare that to Jose Berrios's first minor league start in single A. He got whacked around in single A by some 19 and 20-year-old. You don't care too much the first time. But by the time you are making your third, fourth, fifth rehab appearance like you Savage in AAA, trying to simulate a real game, you need some results. You need to be working deeper into the game. And we know how talented Trey is, but you need to see results. It's this has become a bit more awkward and clumsy coming back than I expected it to, frankly, but it's the control. He just doesn't have that control yet. And that's a matter of just rediscovering your delivery. And it's hard to do, frankly, without the adrenaline of a major league game. When you are down in AAA Buffalo or you're in Rochester, wherever they are, trying to max out your adrenaline in front of a couple thousand fans is different than Rogers Center. So he's got to find that. He's got to generate it and he's got to get back. But this has been a weird one where it's three times in a row now. We'll be saying surely this is his last outing.
There's also something coming down the tracks at the Toronto Blue Jays that they might have to deal with, or maybe they don't. You're going to tell me. When Alejandro Kirk comes back, are the Blue Jays forced into a situation where they have to decide between Tyler Heineman or Brandon Valenzuela being the backup to Kirk?
I really think that it could get to that point. I'm just bringing up Valenzuela's numbers now.
Because he
Offense
had
isn't
a
there.
he had a thrown out runner last night, and it was fantastic.
His
He was
arm,
brilliant behind the
man.
plate. His pitch framing is becoming excellent. Like he's doing great things.
Yeah, his throwing arm is a game changer, frankly. Tyler Heineman can do that as well, but Valenzuela is pretty special behind the plate. And you are never going to have a backup catcher who does everything. Like Tyler Heineman last year was a real anomaly. Like that was kind of a breakout year where he was a good defender, good hitter, a lot of balls were getting through, but still, like that is as good a season as you're going to get from a backup catcher ever. When I look at Valenzuela and Heineman, now options probably come into this. You can option Valenzuela, maybe that breaks the tie. And I do think that Valenzuela long term is absolutely the backup to Alejandro Kirk beginning next year. But I am interested in the rest of this season. You need to see a little more offensively from Valenzuela. There have been some at bats where he's been overwhelmed, and that's understandable. But the old adage in baseball is that a backup catcher is either really good at hitting or really good at defending, which means not both. But Valenzuela's defense is fantastic. And his throwing arm, the ability to control the running game, which some of these pitchers do need when they're not holding runners the best, it's a real special tool. Like his throwing arm is one of the better in Major League Baseball. And when you measure his pop time, that's something we talk about with catchers. And that means when the catcher receives the ball to when it gets to second base, the total time it takes is among the best in baseball. So that can save you a run once every week or two when Valenzuela's in the game. I think it will be more of a conversation than I expected it to be. I still think that if Kirk comes back tomorrow, it's quite easily Tyler Heineman, and Valenzuela with his options gets bumped down. But I do think, even with low offensive numbers, that Valenzuela is proving to people that he's a big leaguer. And that's something that you can't really measure. It's something that you've got to feel out with a guy. He is, in my dealings with him, pretty mature. Doesn't seem to be in awe of what's happening in the big leagues. And to be able to find a young catcher like that with those defensive tools is exciting because when a guy is 16 or 18 years old, Dan, they just want to hit the ball hard. Like throwing hard and framing, that's not exciting. So it's harder and harder to find that skill set. Valenzuela has it, and he's going to make them have a conversation at the very least.
We're watching a real time spring training during the regular season
Yeah.
between Heineman and Valenzuela because they both must know they are human. I might be going down to the minors or I might be out of a job. So it's going to be interesting to watch.
Absolutely. And if you're Heineman, you're dealing with, kind of baseball mortality.
Yeah.
He is someone who can still play for many years, especially as a catcher who is well liked in the clubhouse, is a good defender, can switch hit. Like that's a unique skill set. And Tyler Heineman will have jobs in baseball as long as he wants to, and then probably a job in broadcasting if he wants one. But this is kind of a classic, fascinating case of the older veteran catcher with the young guy coming up. And
There's a
Alejandro Kirk is
nine-year difference if people
undisputed.
are wondering. Heinemann's 34,
Yeah.
Valenzuela's 25. That's a
So
big
this
gap.
is a classic kind of baseball battle right now. And what do the Blue Jays want? Right now, Heineman. But in the future, Valenzuela. And it's a matter of when the future is. And at the very least, the Blue Jays have proven to themselves that they have usable catching depth, which most teams don't have. Most teams in baseball, if they lose a catcher, the guy they're bringing up from the minors is not a big leaguer. And I think Brandon Valenzuela is.
And the last thing to point out is you mentioned off the hop how it felt like a Blue Jays win from last year. And when I think of those wins, I'm like all hands on deck. And that's exactly what happened. Lenine Sosa, another name that is new to Jays fans, comes up clutch in his biggest at bat as a Toronto Blue Jay.
Lenine. I mean, this is another example of covering the 2026 Jays, Dan. When we were in Milwaukee, that's when Lenine Sosa joined the Blue Jays, and we were waiting to interview him. And as we're waiting, like he's walking over, I'm kind of muttering to our PR guy, like, "Is it Lennon? Lenine? Like, how do I say this?" You're kind of learning on the fly. There's a lot of new personalities, new names, and I love his fit for this roster. I really do. I think he's a guy that can stick. They have tried to find, Tyler Fitzgerald was an example earlier in the season. They didn't even play him, but they've been looking to find someone to fill that gap because back in spring training, they wanted it to be Leo Jimenez. He didn't grab that job at all. So now they want to find an infielder to balance out the amount of outfielders they have. And Sosa's in an interesting spot where when Springer and when Barger come back, I think you lose Eloy Jimenez. There's just not enough versatility there. A week ago, I would have said Nathan Lucas is on the block, but he has bounced back completely. Full credit to him. But I think the Jays would want to find ways to keep Lenine Sosa on this roster. He makes sense with the roster, his contact, the exact role he was used in yesterday, which, if you're John Schneider, like pinch hitting a guy who immediately doubles home a couple runs has to be like the best feeling as a manager. You've got to feel like a genius. So that worked out perfectly. And if you do that, like if you come into a game as a pinch hitter and break the game open, your team is going to try everything possible to keep you on the roster.
Mhm.
Okay. Like when you rise to those moments. So Sosa's interesting, man. There's some real talent in there. I think he fits in well with the group. as well. And it seems like they finally found the guy who can stop the revolving door at the bottom of the roster. The real answer, Dan, is probably that by the time those guys get back, someone else is hurt at this rate, how this season's going. But if both come back, legitimately hard decision to see who you're going to get rid of.
And finally, the biggest story in baseball right now is the New York Mets for all the wrong reasons. The Mets lost Tuesday night. They have now lost 12 in a
My
row.
God. All that money, you know,
Yeah.
all that damn money, and you've lost 12 in a row. I think Juan Soto is back tonight. Maybe he turns it around. I mean, my God. But Bo Bichette can't be having the best time there,
Hey, he has
you
an
know?
opt out after this season, doesn't he?
Hey, he might take it tomorrow. My goodness. And if you lose 12 in a row in any market, it's bad. But I mean, if you lose 12 in a row in Toronto, half of the coverage is still going to be about here, the expected batting average is actually better. Okay. Losing 12 in a row as the Mets in that media market, you are getting crushed. You are getting ground up into gravel every single day. So the national attention on that is pretty fascinating. And the losing streaks at the point now, Dan, we're like, when I'm on the couch tonight, I'll flip over to that game just to see, it's kind of like driving by a car crash and
Oh,
you
yeah.
kind of crane your neck out. But it's to the point where I will kind of like it if there's a Dodgers game on and Otani's pitching or something. Like I'll flip over to the Mets game now just to see how bad it can get. They're coming up on some ugly records now, man.
Yeah. People like watching a disaster. Thanks,
Yeah,
Geeks.
you got it, Dan.